So at some point when I was going to second year, I got pregnant. My mom called me in the bedroom that weekend. She's like, hivyo venye nasikia ni ukweli? I said yes. I was really being hard on myself and projecting that on others. Anxiety started. I started having panic attacks. I didn't know there were panic attacks, by the way. Me, I thought they were asthma. One day I got a mental breakdown. So I totally like collapsed into this space of like, I curled into a ball and I slept outside my house. And my husband found me there because he was panicking. Where is she? It's 1 a.m. Did an assessment, and that's when I got a diagnosis of major clinical depression. I was admitted for 2 weeks. I was sedated after attempted suicide and psychotic episodes. The first one, I threw myself on the road. I wanted to be hit by a car. So it's like I used to just feel ni kama kitu tu kinakuingia and you're just like not thinking for a second. I sat there and this thing again came over me and I was like, I'm taking the packet of mara moja and I'm just removing and putting them in a cup, like the way you chambua minji. And then I took them. When it comes to mental health, even you as the sufferer, you are shielding your family from the stigma, because stigma is not just on the sick person, it's also on the family, because mkona mwenda kwenyu. Yeah. What happened 2 days after that is I began to get visions. I saw a huge, like an ocean with no end, and then a cup just scooped some water from the ocean, and I heard a voice that told me, you're the ocean in the cup. For me, that reprogrammed completely. And that was the beginning of my spiritual journey. I did an online campaign for this child when she was discharged, and we raised money, and she was discharged, and we paid NHIF for her for a whole year, and she died the following year, and I was totally devastated, but she had changed my life, because that is how I learned how to listen to God's voice. And that is the guiding voice that guides my career even now.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. You're most definitely watching 3T TV, which is Thika's #1 online news channel, where we are telling the Thika story as it is. My name is Juliet Moloni, and today I come bearing good news like I always do. I have on set a lady who is a transformation coach. She has gone through life, but you know, she hasn't given up in life. She has fought with depression and she came out as a champion. I hope that by the end of this segment, I will have encouraged somebody who is back at home, who is going through struggles here and there, to show you, you know what, there's still a better day ahead. Remember, there's a subscribe button that is at the bottom of your screen. I hope that I will have convinced you enough to subscribe to this wonderful channel. So let us dive right into it. How are you doing?
I'm good, but I'm hot.
You are?
Okay, hot like literally.
We are experiencing equinox today, actually.
Yeah, it's true. We are all in an oven. I feel like I'm baking.
Thank you for making time to be with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for having me. It's amazing.
But you made it.
Yeah, I made it. And this is like coming back home. You know the way people go back to Shags? I'm back to Shags because this 3T is the first place I was ever interviewed. Ever.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Before we move any further,
yeah,
kindly introduce yourself. Then give us a brief of your upbringing and schooling.
All right, so my name is Carolyne Gaithuma. I am a transformation coach. I am a trained PR practitioner. I am a closet musician. I sing when I'm alone. And I'm a village girl. I was brought up in the village. I love village life. I have recently gone back to live in the village. So that's in short. And I'm a mother. That's important also. I'm a mother of 3. My firstborn is 19, my secondborn is turning 11, and the lastborn is turning 5.
Wow,
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
A mixture of everything. Teen, preteen, toddler.
I'm raising generations, literally.
Now, you said
Yeah.
you were brought up in the village.
Yeah.
Where did you school?
Well, those are two different questions. They have different answers. That question has different answers. I know most people, when they say, I was brought up in the village, automatically you went to school in the village. I have never schooled in the village, although I lived in the village. So my village is called Wagudo. It is in Mushadha Ward in Kiambaa constituency. Our home is right behind Kanunga High School. So bordering the school fence is my father's farm on the other side. And so village life was kawaida, like picking coffee, gardening, looking for napier grass for cows, taking them to the deep when my grandfather was alive. All those village things people used to do. But then that was the weekend, right? During the week, I used to go to school in Nairobi. So I schooled in Muthaiga Primary School. Kindergarten, I started at Glad Toto. It was a very prestigious nursery school in Pangani. And then I went to Muthaiga Primary from pre-unit to class 8.
So you used to commute from Shags to
Yes.
Muthaiga.
Yes.
How was that for you? You know, Muthaiga is high-end.
Yes.
How was that for you?
So there were two things. First, it was the commuting itself. So from a very early age, we used to be dropped by my dad. So we are three of us. I'm the firstborn. There's my brother and then my sister. So me and my brother are like twins. We are a year apart. So I was born in August of 82. He was born in November of 83. So we are like twins. So, and then my sister comes 5 years after me. And so there was that aspect of commuting to school itself. Yeah, like in itself was a life of its own, because we have to wake up early. So my dad used to work at DT Dobby and my mom used to work at the Kenya National Examination Council. So we would wake up early. My dad would drop us at Muthaiga, then he would drop my mom, and then he would go to Inda. And so sometimes it would rain. We had sometimes to push the car. My dad drives like a rally driver. So it's like you're in Ian Duncan's car in the morning. The adrenaline, the thrill. And then if you had pushed the car, of course your shoes are muddy, and then you're late. So, and then he's just gonna drop you there and leave you dealing with the prefects and the head teacher with your muddy shoes. So that in itself was a process. Then you reach school, and this is a high-end school. People were chauffeured. People are sitting back left in Mercedes-Benz cars those days, or they're being dropped in company buses or military vehicles. And okay, of course there were those who were coming by matatu, but you're thinking you are at the low end of the low end, right? So it does something to your self-esteem as a child. There was this aspect of you're carrying food, and there's a hot lunch canteen. So hot lunch canteen, people are eating chips and chicken. For break time, there was mandazi and sausage and samosa. People were getting money. People had cash. Yeah, in the evening, there was those, it's called what? The ice cream carts. They would line up outside of school and people would buy ice cream. Sisi, we used to carry lunch in a kiondo. You know these Waindi lunch containers that have floors? First
Yes.
floor mnaekewa ugali, second
And
floor
like a
ni
place for a
sukuma.
kijiko over there.
And then now it's put in a kiondo.
Yes.
And then inaenda tu make noise. And then now it's all your lunch. So I have to look for all of you guys at lunchtime so that we sit and eat. Sometimes it's so hot, like now, you put anything in a container, it goes bad.
Of course.
Sasa mnafungua lunch yenu inanuka. It does something to your self-esteem, you know. And for me to handle that, I know I look serious, but I have a very huge sense of humor, because that's what got me out of most situations. And I also learned how to adapt and shape, because now of priority was to be accepted. My biggest challenge in childhood was I want to be accepted. And so I did everything, and I created mechanisms to allow me to be accepted. So I would read you, I'm very good at reading people, so that I know what you want, so that I become that, so that you accept me. And so that was in school, and it's during the day. At home, we are in the village. But then, we drive. We talk English. We have shoes. We eat pancakes and sausage for breakfast. So, in the village, you're the rich kids. And everyone is looking at you with a sense of mystery and curiosity. And people have this idea in that village that ukikuwa hivyo unajifanya. You know, like the way people say when you get so rich, they automatically think you're a devil worshipper.
Yes.
It's the same, like when you show up a certain way, like with clean clothes and shoes and you're talking English, ni kujifanya. So to be accepted, then what did I have to do? Because I needed friends. This is home. I used to be a Sunday school person there. I had neighbors. I wanted to enjoy community and connection and not to be cast aside. So again, when it comes to home, I have to be like them. So my Kikuyu was very good. I had to learn their language. I had to learn their mannerisms. I had to tell myself I can walk barefoot. I had to actually be proud of picking coffee, and I had to trash good clothes, and just it was only in teenagehood, because of that story of kukatiana, that I started now seeing that I am a celeb of some sort. And I was like, oh, it's getting me attention. Oh, then let me be this, So that's how my childhood was organized. That's the context in which I grew up. And also, there was this thing of, at school, I have this huge desire to be like them, to be rich and to be okay, and to, to feel like just being myself, I can be accepted. But then in the village, even being rich was a threat, because there were thugs coming to attack people. I remember even my uncle moved out of his house because of thugs. Many people moved out of that village because of thugs. If they would hear that you have a TV, hamtalala.
So in the village, hakuna kushainia watu. You don't tell them these things that you have.
No, you don't even let them. In fact, it was a huge thing, and which I actually have to stop myself from doing with my children. It was not allowed to kutembelea watu ovyo ovyo. It's like we had this programming of check who you are working with, because they might be coming to spy on you. So I created this mindset and this mechanism of being guarded around people and being mistrusting with people. So it's something that I'm still working on, because that stops you from connecting with the right people, with opportunities, because you're not open. In fact, I go into town and people, because of my dreads, they're like, ras, ras, ras. I get into this state of, like, it's like I have an electric wall around me. Ukinishika ni stima. Ukiniongelesha ni stima. So this demeanor came from there. So I had to be like that because of that. And then, of course, even my relationship with abundance and wealth and whatever, it was, that to my brain meant insecurity. Looking good and feeling good about yourself was also insecurity, like I'm afraid. In fact, was it yesterday that I was walking somewhere, I had worn shorts. Yesterday it was hot also. I said, let me wear shorts and a sleeveless top. And I live in the village. I needed to pick something at the shops. So I'm walking and people are looking at me. And it hit me how I feel unsafe because of how I look. So the more I look good, the more unsafe I am. So that was the programming.
Wow. So you're doing a lot of unlearning as an adult.
Oh my gosh. A lot of unlearning.
But that is the beauty of life.
Yes.
Ups and downs.
Exactly.
And ups and downs.
Yeah.
So Muthaiga Primary, where you are at the bottom of the top pile.
Imagine.
You finished class 8.
Yeah.
Then where did you go from there?
So I finished class 8 and so this is day school I've been going for 9 years. Ever since I started school. But now I'm called to Ngara Girls and I'm happy because I have people around. In fact, most people are called, my friends are called either to Muslim girls or Ngara Girls. So we're like, hey, we'll still be hanging out. Yeah. Our famous matatu people will still be giving us those circulars. You used to do circulars. You take a 100 as it's going to town. it goes and turns and comes back with you back to Kiambu.
Yes.
Or you take number 9, which was like the complete circular. It goes round to Isili, round like this. So we used to love circulars. We used to love the attention of those Matatu boys because they were very well dressed. They were smelling good. Those were the days. They had good music. Wrong company.
Yes.
Okay? Don't do that. Anyway, my mom decides, no, there is this amazing school that I want you to go to. And she goes and she gets me an interview, and I go for the interview and I pass. So now I go into Precious Blood Kagwe. And Precious Blood Kagwe was run by the Precious Blood sisters. It's, you know, among the other Precious Blood, Riruta. There's Riruta, there's Kilungu. So same thing. So we never used to go for music festivals. We never used to go for drama festival. We never used to go for, we just used to go for sports and science congress.
Are you serious?
So the schools around us used to call us madogi. Cause tumefungiwa.
I can only imagine. So you guys never used to interact with other people?
We never, just science congress. So for me it was important I get into science congress. Otherwise I'll never leave this institution.
Wow.
So I went and got myself a seat as the secretary of the club. So I had to go for all science congress, whatever. And of course, what do you do in funkies in high school? You meet the boys.
Yes.
Yeah, which was the thing, you know.
Yes.
So I joined high school, and it was tough for me because this was boarding school. This was it was new to me. In fact, that 1 week was not exciting because I'm like, I miss home. This is deep in the tea farms, like it's in the middle of nowhere, and it just feels like I feel very homesick. So I used to plan how to run away. And I had already started, you know, like Prison Break, the way they check the schedule of the watchmen, how are they going. So I had gotten a slot between the time the night watchman leaves and the morning watchman comes. There was a blank spot. So I had known this is the time I'll sneak out. And then we used to wear home clothes over the weekend. So I knew I was going to run on a weekend. Because one, I won't raise any eyebrows because everyone is in home clothes. So I'll just wake up earlier, I'll put on my home clothes on a Saturday, and I'll sneak out. And once I'm out of that gate, no one will know that I'm a student of this school. And I had planned. And the week I was supposed to execute my plan, the deputy headmistress, she was called Sister Annette. She was a German, tough German. We used to call her Hitler. She gives me the duty of being, that time I had already started gardening in the convent. It was one of the duties, like people would clean corridors, classes, dorms. Me, I was given the garden at the convent. So that time I was about to sneak out, she gave me the position of assistant compound prefect.
Wow.
So I was like, wait a minute. So I don't have to do any gardening or cleaning or whatever? Okay, this is interesting. And so that's how I finished my plans of running away. And I just I started enjoying school. I started enjoying school. I settled in. I was like enjoying. That time I had a boyfriend, so I would look forward for Saturdays.
I can imagine.
When the dorm prefect is reading letters. Letters, please. Oh, my ears would be like this. And then he used to, he used to calligraph. Inaitangwa calligraphy.
Yes,
He used to calligraph. So everyone knew who was sending me letters just by looking at the envelope. And they would scream, and I would know I have a letter. So I would get a letter this weekend. Next weekend I wouldn't, because that's when my reply went.
Of course.
And then the other weekend I would get. And then every Saturday was movie night at PBK. So we would watch movies on Saturdays with the sister. She would select movies. I remember watching the Titanic before it was in the theaters, because she would get them. The headmistress was British. So she would get movies that are even being released, like have not been released in Kenya.
So finally, high school made sense for you.
Yeah, it made sense. I made a lot of friends. I did a lot. I started music there. We had a group. It was called Quest. Was it called Quest? I remember we even had uniform. I started learning the piano with the help of the deputy. Again, she was like, you can pick the piano from the convent and come and play. So I did a lot in high school, and it was an amazing experience, I would
There's
say.
an interesting story about you going to get the piano from the convent.
Yes.
Please tell us about
So
that.
she was very tough, and very few people are even allowed past the gate. But because I was a compound prefect, I used to go and inspect whether the gardening has happened properly, whether the corridors are shining. And so as I was interacting with them, they were like free with me. So they would leave on Sunday afternoons as they are going, I don't know if they used to go for a nap or what, after mass. So they would leave the convent door open for me, the gate and the door. And so I would go in, and there was a room next. So I would go and pick my keyboard there, and I would go play it in the library at the deputy's office. And the deputy was a disciplinarian. So what we used to call the black book was in that room. So I remember people asking me, Niko kwa black book? And I had such high integrity. I still do, by the way. I would never opened the black book, and I would see it. Yeah.
Are you serious? Okay, you're such a nice chick.
But because I felt so good to be trusted,
I can imagine.
with this huge, and everyone used to fear her. And so there was that fear of, if I mess this up, it's gonna go to the high heavens. Like, this is your direct highway to hell. But it was also a statement of, if she can trust me, then I better be trustworthy.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
That is awesome. You know,
Yeah.
integrity all the way.
Exactly.
And there's usually no excuse for integrity.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So high school was awesome for you.
Yeah.
You finished high school.
Yes.
Let's talk about music school. After high school.
After high school was music school.
Yes.
Yeah, so so there was this break of when you are expecting to get your results. So my parents were like, no point of wasting time. January, unaingia shule. Would you like to do music? And because I was very passionate about music. And I was like, yeah, why not? My mom, she told me, go look for a school. It was like the test of, my mom actually tested my sense of responsibility from very early on. I remember on my 18th birthday, I was in Form 4. She did a party for me, and my gift was a bank card with money in it. It had like 40 Gs. She had been saving money in a junior account for me. And then now, when I turned 18, it turned into a normal savings account. So she gave me that bank card. She was like, yeah, imagine 18 years with 40 Gs.
Wow.
I chopped that money. I chopped it properly
Literally.
until she cancelled this other kid's account. She was like, I'm not doing this again. I bought a phone before her. You know? Okay, so this was in college. When I went to college is when I turned 18. And so I went and looked for a school. I found a school. It was called Umbrella Music School. And I signed up for voice and piano. And it was an amazing experience for me because, one, I had taught myself how to read music. With the kidogo primary school music we had been taught, I knew how to read a score. So I could play Beethoven, Chopin. So I perfected that in school. I also did voice. And so at the end of it, we were with people like Kina Linda Mudhama. If you ever watch this, my college mates, Kina Mike Black, he's now a very huge music producer. K-Rap's brother was there. Silas, they were amazing people. And I think they're still doing amazing music work.
Yeah,
Pastor Bryant Lubanga was there. So we formed a group, a music group, 4 of us. I was the alto. My friend Wamboi was the soprano. Then there was Robert, he was a tenor, and then there was Brian to the bass. And we used to sing. Even my mom used to invite us to her house to just sing. We used to sing like angels. And so music school was good. Towards the end, we did a competition for king and queen of music. And our music teacher was very renowned. He's still very renowned music. He's a worship teacher also. He doesn't just teach music, he teaches the art of worship. He's called Timothy Kaberia. And he's doing big now. He's gone international. So he was a very good teacher. So he put us in a competition. There's this song we were supposed to sing. I think it was It was an African song, and it was like a South African song. So there was this vibrancy in voice. So your voice had to be very dynamic. You're doing things like, you know, those ones. I won that competition.
What?
Yeah.
Against Akina Linda Mudhama.
Imagine. I won that competition.
You matched
but then
top.
Yeah, but then that was, and I had to lead that song during graduation. And that's the time I finished graduation and I finished with music, because the experience for that performance for me brought out an aspect of me I think I wasn't ready to face. The aspect of, because when you're in the performance arts, the best performance happens when you lose yourself to the flow. Whether it's a character you're playing, whether it's a song you're singing, it's like you become one with that art that you're expressing, which means that you have to lose yourself. Now, to lose yourself, you have to be so confident of who you are so that you know you're going to come back to yourself. You're not going to lose yourself completely. So for me, that was a very vulnerable thing that happened, because it's like everyone fades out and you're just alone in this world. And then you come back and people are clapping at you. And if you're not so sure of yourself, you start asking yourself, so what do they think of me? What are they thinking? You can't perform if you can't lose yourself. So I realized that vulnerability, I don't think I can do performance. But it was still something that was calling me. So when I applied to Daystar, I applied to do a music major and a communication minor. And so that was my next journey in my education. So after graduation in July, in August, I joined Daystar, August of 2001. And I started doing music and communication. Now, after the first semester, the school decided to scrap off the music major because it wasn't sustainable. There were not many people. They couldn't pay the lecturer because of the turnout. So we were told you can only take music as a minor. So choose a major. So I chose electronic media as a major. And I did it. It was fun. We had amazing people. Daystar was fun, let me tell you. I joined. In fact, people in Daystar, me, I think I've been in all the DCFs. DCF is Daystar Christian Fellowship, and it had branches. It had DCF Evangelism, DCF Worship, DCF Intercessors, DCF, like ministries, yeah?
All of them.
The only one I hadn't joined, I didn't join was Evangelism. Because I used to go to the Bundus to preach, set up crusades. Yeah. So I was in, at some point I tried to join the dance team. At some point, I was in worship team with Kina Masimasika, Valerie Kimani, Niman Taliel, those people who are now rocking the industry now. There was Intercessors, I was there. There was DCF drama, we used to go even to the coast to do. I was an actress. In fact, the first time I went to watch a play was after I left Daystar. All these other times I went to the National Theatre, I was part of the actors. I used to go and act. So it was fun. So at some point when I was going to second year, I got pregnant. And that was a very tough season for me because I had just started living off campus. So that was a lucky bit because I was able to hide that pregnancy for 4 months. So I started wondering what's my future. That was the first time in my life that I had a very huge challenge. That was the hugest challenge because what is going to happen to me? Am I going to be thrown out? Am I going to be expelled? What will become of my future?
So this is second year?
Yeah. So I joined August 2001. So in August 2002 is when I conceived.
Daystar.
Yeah.
Wow.
University with a difference.
Oh, definitely.
Christian university with a difference.
Yes.
Here I am making a difference by adding
in your own
to the
little
population.
ways. So how did you maneuver with the pregnancy?
First I prayed like a mad woman. I prayed. I asked for forgiveness. By the way, kama ingekuwa like if forgiveness was like you're being washed, ningekuwa nimeisha kala, because I used to there was this weekend challenges that used to happen at Daystar every year, and it was like pastors would come, musicians would come, and it was like a whole what do you used to call them in high school? Those weekend challenges, Christian ones,
Union.
yeah? Yes, they are coming to
something.
preach for people to get saved. Me, I got saved. I ombad msamaha. I told God to go before me as I'm going to talk to my parents, and sure he did. Because when I approached my mom through my auntie, she was very calm. And I remember when I saw her, because my auntie told her, and then I went home the following weekend.
So you told your auntie to
I told my
pass the
auntie,
message.
she cried. Auntie Jerry, surely. Imagine.
She was in shock, I mean.
Ati uwe katia. I'm like, Kai. You know, I was a teenager, guy. I was 19. She's like, this has never happened in the history of our family and your family. Can you imagine? Teenage pregnancy. That thing is traumatizing. So she cried, but then she was like, hey, I'll tell your mom. She told my mom, so I didn't go home that weekend that she told her. I went the following. So my mom had a whole week to process. So I go home and I'm shaking. I'm like, now I need to start thinking what I'll pack because I'm going to be thrown out. Because my parents are very strict. And then something else that was like the worst thing about the timing of that is my mom was becoming a lay leader.
My God.
And the church was commissioning 2 lay leaders. A lady and a man. The lady was my mom. The man was my baby daddy's dad.
Oh,
so you can imagine the scandal.
Yes.
Drama. Like that was like Edgar Obare's tea.
Tea, definitely, by the way.
In the village.
Yes.
So my mom called me in the bedroom that weekend. She's like, Ivo venye nasikia ni ukweli? I said yes. And she asked me, how far along are you? I told her, and then she told me, now, she said in Kikuyu, riu ni ugotiga gucagura irio. You'll stop selecting food the way you choose your choosy with food, because now you're eating for 2. And I was like, gosh, that's like, I didn't expect that. So she was very kind to me and she was very loving. I cried the rest of the afternoon because I was like, I've never seen such love. And she told my dad, and my dad took it well. He didn't quarrel me. He never talked about it until when I was going to get the baby. And I went back to school. So I got my baby in May. I went back to school in August. So my baby was like 3 months. So I was a day scholar that semester, 2 semesters. So I used to leave the house I used to wake up at 3:45. I study, I prepare myself, then I leave the house at 4:30 so that I am at 5:15 hapo. I am at development house to start the journey to Athi River. And I never used to eat lunch, spend my lunch times in the library eating lollipops for energy, get home at 9, they are there waiting with the baby for me. I breastfeed. So I was like very thin. But that is the semester I made it to the dean's list.
See God.
And my dad was like, hey, sasa umejua muhimu ya masomo. You know? Suddenly I was grown up. I was 20, you know? And so my journey from there became, I'm a mother. And there's a thing that happens to teenage mothers when they get a child, because the whole society expects you. There's a label and conditioning around motherhood. But you're a child. This is the time you're supposed to be exploring life. So nobody gets it that you're doing age appropriate things, only that you have an added responsibility. So for me, honestly speaking, I think I really traumatized my son, because I was a very angry mom because of how the relationship turned out and how I was feeling bogged down by responsibilities. And so in a way, I was escaping. Like I was finding any opportunity not to be a parent. And so I would like go, I'm working because I got an internship and I moved out of home. So I would go see him over the weekend. But then it was just the weekend. And then I would be like, hey, Sunday naenda, I'm out. But then at some point, I started seeing that, no, I really need to. Yeah, so when I got a job after I left the place that I went for internship for, I got him to live with me. And it was a hassle to get him from my parents. They were like, no. I was like, it's my child, I'm going with him.
Because now they are accosted to having him
exactly.
at home.
And they can see I'm not as responsible, because they can see I'm still a child, I'm still trying to start, start exploring.
Yes.
And I'm still a child. So it was a strange dynamic, but I hope he'll earn enough money to go for therapy.
No, you've done great. The little bit that you've been able to be there for him.
Yeah, and we talk. He knows, and he knows about this thing. I mean, me, I tell people, give your child, the childhood that you can, but don't forget to remind them to go for therapy when they're adults. Budget for this thing, because this is systemic. Everyone got traumatized at some point in life. So,
sure, by the way, we are doing a lot of unlearning.
Exactly,
as adults.
exactly, yeah.
So now you finished school.
Even before I finished, I got an internship at Apex Communications. Now they are called Porta Novelli. It's a PR agency, and so I was thrown into the deep end of PR work, agency PR work. And it really shaped me because I was always high on adrenaline. Because one, there's this thing of, remember I have this thing of being accepted. So I am trying to do my best to be accepted. But then I am an intern and I'm supposed to be learning. So I was really being hard on myself and projecting that on others, like they're being hard on me. So I was like a victim. So when I would do articles and my boss, he would scrap it, Judy Gikaru, hey, if you ever watch this, you made me, because she would scrap with red and tell me rewrite this again, and then we would do like edits like 5 times, and I'm taking it personally because of how I've been conditioned. So it was a huge pressure. It was pressure for me, like from the get-go. And now running that Nairobi Water account, I remember I was under someone, but the pressure was all the same because I had to do my job. One of the jobs I had was to ensure that all the complaints directed at Nairobi Water, or any complaint about water and sewerage in Nairobi, I have captured them, I have sent them to the company, to the MD's office. He has responded, and I have sent the response back to the newspaper or media station. That was my job. And so everyone was on my neck. I remember there's one time on the Watchman, and a column in the Standard, I don't know why I didn't see that complaint. For 2 weeks I didn't see it. And we found Nairobi Water is an ostrich with the head in the sand. And I got a call from Kabando Akabando. He used to call me student. He's like, student, why is our head buried in the sand?
That means you've not been able to...
I have not responded to the complaint, and it's showing the company in bad light, and nobody knows about us. Everybody knows the chairman and the MD.
Sure.
So it was high pressure. This time we had a code of ethics signing at Silver Spring Hotel, and some of the councillors were refusing to come on board and sign the code of conduct. And the event had already been scheduled, and Martha Karua had confirmed she was the guest of honor as the Minister of Justice. It was chaotic.
And there's still this push and pull.
Push and pull.
Not forgetting you still have a small baby at home.
Yeah, I had a small baby at home, but let me tell you, I would block that fact from Monday to Friday that I have a baby. And just carry on. And those times mobiles were not so common. So I would do my work, adrenaline charge. Remember, at that point, I'm still in school. So my life would be work from 8 to 5. And then 5, I would walk down from Hurlingham, that's where the offices were, Nairobi Women's Hospital. We were, I think, 2nd floor of the same building. So I would walk down, go into Daystar, Valley Road, do my classes, finish the classes at around 8:30, cross the road Pale Kenyatta, get a 34 to Langata. That was my life, Monday to Friday. And so I carried on like that until the pressure was too much at work. And one lunchtime, I had been sent to go to Nairobi Hospital to deliver some, we were doing a conference for all the doctors who treat rheumatism, arthritis. I went to Nairobi Hospital, I delivered the letter, and then I went home, and I never went back to Apex again.
That was it.
In fact, my housemate, who had invited me to live with her because we became very good friends, she used to work at the same company as a designer. She's the one who was being sent by my boss to come and get a flash disk that I had gone with. And they were so mad at me. But what they didn't understand is that I was feeling so pressured. It's like I was feeling like this is corroding like I'm losing myself. So I bailed. Started working for Ashley's. Worked for Ashley's for 1 year. I was the manager at the mall. It was also another challenge because you're dealing with people of all kinds. This is a high-profile business. Terry Mongai doesn't play with her brand, by the way. She walks in and everybody steps up. You check yourself.
Yeah.
And the kind of clientele that we had there, I remember there's a time they were shooting the TCB ad. And I had to be there as a manager. So I had opened the barber shop and the salon in the morning, and I had to be there through the night because they started shooting at 6. And through the night to the following morning and open and continue as if nothing happened.
Wow.
So it was also a crazy job, and at some point I was like, I don't think I can do this, especially weekends were busy. And that's when I can go and see my child, you know. So I got a job ad in the newspaper for a PR job. I applied. I was, given the opportunity. I went ahead and got it. And this was Story Moja. It was starting. So we started Story Moja, and I did their PR. So I was the first PR manager for Story Moja. I don't know if you've ever had another PR manager. But it was fun. I was dealing with books. At some point, I was even editing books. I was even learning how to design. I remember Sunny Bindra's book. I don't know if you know Sunny Bindra.
Yes.
His first book, I edited that thing.
So here you were feeling fulfilled now.
Yes, I was happy. I was feeling fulfilled. I was thriving. But then the same pattern started again. I started feeling, it's too much. And I also used to travel a lot. I interacted with very many people. My media contacts are still my friends. By the way, I am one of those PR people who did PR for all those 4 years without a brown envelope. If you're in PR, you know the importance of brown envelope. Your story will not be covered sometimes. Kama utoi kitu.
Of course.
Me, I never told anything. We didn't even have a budget for sijui entertainment. I just became friends with these people, and they would just call me, do you have a story? And I would go and I would give them angles. We would talk. Even today, Kina Smitten are my buddies. James Muro are my buddies. Joseph Gunjiri, Ngirachu, all of them are my buddies. So I made real friends with the media guys. So my stories always got covered. My last assignment was this festival. It was called the Hay Festival. We were doing it in collaboration with the Hay Festival in the UK. And we brought authors from all over the world. Mikel Arong, the one who wrote John Githongo's It's My Time to Eat.
Yes.
We had Wale Shoyinka was coming for that one, but he didn't come for that one. Mukoma Ngugi, Ngugi wa Thiong'o's son, others from India, from the UK, from Nigeria. It was an interesting event. I did media coverage that was worth more than 24 million, because that's how you count publicity.
Sure.
For a company. You're like, so how much money did you make us in terms of PR?
Yes.
So when I look at the interviews that I got people into all these media stations, I even got Mikel Areng onto Jeff Koinange's bench when he used to do the bench. So it was, you calculate, it was more than 24 million in terms of coverage. So I was very successful in that way. But then there was this pattern of, I was beginning to feel tired out. It's a pattern that if you have, you need to check it out. I didn't know it was depression, but it was. I couldn't wake up in the morning. I don't have psych. I'm postponing things. I'm procrastinating. By the way, I also did the first and I think only televised spelling bee in East and Central Africa. It was called the Safari Bee,
Yes.
I think, on Citizen TV.
Yes.
Wachira Waruru, the head of Royal Media, was excited about this spelling bee. So we did this spelling bee in Nairobi with the public schools, and it was a success. And what happened is that we got into partnership with City Council. And so when post-election violence happened, we had just launched a book called In the Land of the Kitchen, which apparently was a story told by Eric Omondi. He had won a competition that we were running, and that's how he got his internship at Nation. So this In the Land of the Kitchen, we used it with a company called Life Skills and the City Council to help children process the trauma of 2007 elections. And we got the attention of UN Habitat in the Safer Cities program. And so we went to South Africa to do the presentation of this project. It was an amazing experience. So I was thriving.
So when it comes to job life, work life, you were at the top.
I was at the top. I've always done my best, but there was this hiccup of there's a time that reaches and I can't perform. And I didn't understand myself, so I didn't take responsibility. So I fell into victim. So I start feeling after everything you guys have done, you're still victimizing me, you're still telling me I'm not performing, but it's the truth, I'm not performing, but I'm not understanding why, what do these patterns happen. So I always thought it's about me. So I had a very low self-esteem. So when I left Story Moja, I looked for a job as a reception because I was like, this is no pressure. This one I can qualify. This one, you know. So I went into this job. I got the job through an agency. So it was a construction company called Alpha Tech Contractors. And they got me the job. Do you know that first month, because when you're getting a job through an agency, you pay a fee, the organization pays a fee. So that was the arrangement when they were looking for that position. So my boss was like, you are supposed to pay them for getting you a job. I will pay because you have exceeded the expectations. Yes, and then I started creating structures for the company. They didn't have documents like LP, SG, invoice, all of those. I started creating structures. And he was like, you're really good at it. Let's look for a receptionist. You're becoming head of operations.
So they got more than they had bargained for?
Yeah.
Wow.
But then that was scary for me again because I had, and I realized later that I had a huge fear for responsibility. That's why, because I don't believe in myself. So I'm like, can I do what you're expecting me to do? And so it's been a struggle that showed up in my workplaces. So I would start very well and start going down. So in construction, it was very tough. We had to do tenders. If you have done tenders, my friend, kudos.
All the documentation.
The documentation.
Yeah.
So I also created a structure for documentation. So I scanned all the documents.
Yes.
So they were in soft copy. So anyone would come and do a tender. I would just tell them, go to that folder, print in this order, and arrange. So we did tenders, I was also doing client relations. We had big jobs. I remember we had like 60 units we were building in Rwaka. I had to know the OCS. People were still there, still with guns. It was high pressure. Again, I started. But this time, I had gotten married. I already had my second born. I was living here in Thika. And it was high pressure because the office was on Riara Road. So I used to travel every day, back and forth with all this pressure. I told myself, I think I need to start my own business because maybe this thing of being in employment is what is making me feel like I'm losing psych. And I know a lot of people go through that, but then they don't know there's something underneath the surface that is happening, because you should be joyful wherever it is that you choose to be, because you've chosen to be there, right? So I quit and I started a clothes shop, a baby clothes shop. It was called Mama Juniors because my son is junior. And I started online, and then I opened a shop on Moi Avenue. And so that's what I was doing. I was sending bills to Eldoret. It was doing well. And then anxiety started. I started having panic attacks. I didn't know there were panic attacks, by the way. Me, I thought they were asthma. You know, for the longest time, you can be misdiagnosed. They can tell you asthmatic, but all you have is anxiety. So I had a lot of anxiety. One day I got a mental breakdown. So I totally like collapsed into this space of like, I curled into a ball and I slept outside my house. And my husband found me there because he was panicking. Where is she? It's 1 a.m. Her phone is off. So he was actually getting out to catch some fresh air because he didn't know where to start to look for me. And he found me there. He was like, are you mad? So according to how I behaved, in the morning, I was getting flashbacks. It's like I was out of it. It's like the way somebody gets high and they can't remember things clearly. That's how I was feeling. So I took a mat, went to Aga Khan, went to the building directory at Doctor's Plaza, looked. I saw psychiatrist Dr. Kigamwa, took the lift, went to his office, found a psychologist, and I sat there with him and I told him something happened yesterday and I was told I'm getting mad. I'm here to confirm. Thank God for medical covers that have mental health, because it is so expensive to cover mental health issues. So I went, had a conversation with George, he did an assessment, and that's when I got a diagnosis of major clinical depression. So I started psychotherapy sessions, and after that, it got worse. So they had to medicate me, so I was put on Prozac. And after a while of taking Prozac, that time it was getting worse. I had to close my business because I had hired someone. She would wake up and go whatever time she wants. I would get to the shop at 11. I had to go to Gikomba, Toy Market, look, because I used to sell like quality stuff. So I had to go and physically look. I wasn't opening bills, I was selecting. So I had to be in the markets very early. So I'm fikaing the shop at 11, that's when she's getting in.
Please,
so you see, you can't sustain a business like that. Suicide. On top of that, you're in CBD. So I would get into these episodes of doing something crazy. And so it didn't do well. So I closed it kabisa after I left hospital because I was admitted after attempted suicide and psychotic episodes. So I got admitted. For 2 weeks, I was sedated.
Please tell us about the attempted suicide.
So I would get into these episodes of doing something crazy. What was the first one? The first one, I threw myself on the road. I wanted to be hit by a car. So it's like I used to just feel ni kama kitu tu kinakuingia and you're just like not thinking for a second. And that's why I tell people when somebody commits suicide, don't judge them. They were coming from a place of this is the best thing to do for me and everyone. Because it never looks to the person as a selfish thought. They are not thinking, Ati, I'm going to leave my kids alone. No, they are thinking my kids are better off without me. So actually they feel like they are doing everyone else a favor. So I threw myself on the road. This is interesting because I had even forgotten about it. Because it feels like it's not my life. It's like I'm narrating somebody else's life. But yeah, and somebody just hit me on the head. They were like, wewe mama nini kichwa mbaya na wewe? You know? Because it would have been bad. I don't think I would have survived that. The second one I think was overdose, if I remember correctly. But what I remember correctly was the last one. Because the last one, we had a family event and my ex-husband was there in the shower and I was supposed to be sorting out our clothes and preparing the kids. But I sat there and this thing again came over me and I was like, you know, first it was mechanical. It's just like I'm taking the packet of mara moja and I'm just removing and putting them in a cup, like the way you chambua minji. And then I took them.
A whole packet of mara moja?
Yeah, they were like 20 something.
And your husband is in the shower?
In the shower. Then I collect this makaratasi, I put them back in the box, and I put the box back where we used to put the medicine. And then I'm seated there. It's like I'm not aware of myself. Then he comes and he startles me back to myself when he's like, si ni unazubazuba, si ujitayarishe twende. And then it hit me. I was like, guy, you know what I've done? He's like, what? I told him, I've taken, nimekunywa dawa zote. He was like, go to the toilet, put your fingers in your mouth, utatapika. He wasn't scared. Like, he didn't panic, he didn't. And then that time I was feeling very pressure. So I don't know if it was the mental illness. So there are some things that had happened. First and foremost, remember, in very quick succession, I've moved from a job, permanent job. I have come to a business that is not doing as well as I thought it would. And then on top of that, for women, I have stopped family planning. So I was on the pill. So I stopped the pill. So you can imagine all these transitions and the hormones and everything. Yeah, so I don't know if that was it, but there was still traces of that depression, as I'm telling you about my work life, how I used to feel on and off. So now I got into that space of now that's the day I was admitted, in short.
So but
the
you
day
managed
before.
to eject the medication
Yes,
from your
so
system?
I puked and we went for the event. Then in the evening we came back. As we were going to bed, suddenly there's a whole group of people asking me questions, and it's just me and my husband in the room, and he's asleep.
So you're hearing voices?
Yes, I heard very clearly. And the voices were surprisingly voices I know. So it would be my son, my mom, my dad, my sister. But they're all asking questions. It's like the way you have so many thoughts in your mind right now, but now they become almost audible. So they are like not thoughts, they are voices. So you can imagine what would be happening. A lot of noise. So I tap him on his legs and I'm like, dude, kuna watu wananiuliza maswali hapa. He's like, siwajibu ulale. By the way, I don't know how he was managing. Maybe even that thing traumatized him. Maybe.
So all through the whole day, he never asked about the incident that happened in the morning?
He never asked. We never spoke about it. We never even behaved as if it happened.
Then evening is here.
Yeah.
You hear voices. He tells you just talk back to them.
Yeah, just answer them ulale. But this one I was like, maybe amesema hivyo because he's half asleep.
Yeah, he also wants to sleep.
Yeah, he wants to sleep. Yeah, bana, like then I'm like, if I answer them, I don't know if I told him, Mama, I thought to myself, if I answer them, now I'll be mad. Like, that's how mad people become mad. You start talking to voices in your head. I was like, Missy wajibu. As long as I don't see you, I am not going to talk to you. So in the morning, I told him, now I repeated to him that incident. I was like, unajua, by the way, waliongea, wakauliza. I slept like this, with my ears, with my hands on my ears. And so in the morning, he was like, si upigie George, umwambie. So I called George, the psychologist, and I told him. He was like, can I speak to your husband? He went outside, they spoke. The next thing, I'm being asked, where is your bag? Because we were preparing to go to church. It was a Sunday. Where is your bag? I'm like, ndio hii, twende. I'm like, what? George amesema twende tupatane na yeye. That car was driven in 18 minutes from Makongeni phase 13 to Aga Khan. 18 minutes. So we reached. George was like, I'm admitting you, and he gave me an admission letter to Bustani, Chiromo Medical Center, Bustani. So in Valley Arcade, we went there. I looked at the place, it felt so cold, and so it's like these people have been isolated because they have a special illness. I was like, I'm not staying here. I told my ex, I want a place where I can feel like I'm a normal person so that I become normal. If you put me there, I'm going to become more of this thing I'm becoming, which I don't know. He called George. George says, come back. Look at the benefits on your card. Can you afford a private room? The card was able to afford. That time my ex used to work for DHL, so they had a very good cover. So we went. I was admitted in a private room and I stayed there for 2 weeks. So they would inject me the antipsychotic. It's Zyprexa, very strong, highly sedated. Even I can't lift my tongue. 20 hours I'm on bed. I wake up in, after 4 hours I eat, I walk around. If there's anyone who's visited me, only my friends knew and my parents. I walk, I eat, I go to the bathroom, and then I sit, I start hearing the voices from Bali. Then I'll just pick that red thing, the one you call the nurse with Aifinya. I'm like, wamekuja, wanakuja. Then the nurse would be like, wanakuja, ebu nikudunge wasikuje.
And how did your husband take all this? How was he able to manage it?
Honestly, I don't know. Because if I was in his shoes, it's hard. Because there are kids involved. This is your wife. You can't tell nobody because of the stigma associated with mental health. So where is your wife at again? She's going crazy. What does that mean for you? What does that mean for your children? It's a very lonely place to be at. You have to come and see her in hospital. She's incoherent. She's telling you things you don't even understand. It's something very tough.
Did he inform your parents what you were really ailing from?
He told them that I was having a headache, a bad headache. That's what he told his mother. Which was very interesting because later, many years later, I'm seated at his mother's house and we are waiting for lunch, and she's like, he sends my son to go buy meat at a butchery outside there somewhere in Landless. And my son goes, this is years later, my son goes and buys a newspaper, a nyama, imefungwa na gazeti, si ndio?
Yeah,
so she comes, she wants to cook the meat, anafungua gazeti, ananiona hapo kwa gazeti.
Wow.
Talking about my experience with depression, I almost had a panic attack. Because again, when it comes to mental health, even you as the sufferer, you are shielding your family from the stigma. Because stigma is not just on the sick person, it's also on the family. Because mkona mwenda kwenyu.
Yeah.
Even those days when people used to do arranged marriages, they used to check kama that family has people with mental health, and they would discourage you from getting married or marrying into that family. So it's something that is really inbuilt in us. And I used to stigmatize myself a lot. So
you stayed in hospital now for how long?
For 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks.
And then I went home and I was on medication. Now the journey with mental illness medication is another journey. You get a pill, it gives you side effects. You go back to the doctor, they give you another pill for the side effects. So at some point I was on 9 pills a day. And I became like a zombie. So I just used to sit. It's because the thing is to come, they stop your thinking. So it's like you're sitting with no thoughts. They are just blank. And one day I sat, I saw the kids leaving at the gate. I'm watching them from the living room. They closed the gate. And then almost as if I just blinked, I see them coming back in. And I'm like, kwani I've been here the whole time. Ama wametoka nje kuna kitu wamesahau. That's when I knew I'm done with this medication.
So you had spent the whole day at that one particular position?
Yes. And I couldn't tell the time. So I stopped the medication, and that's when I say my life season 2 began. Because I got this feeling of what is the meaning of life. Tunakujanga huku kufanya nini, by the way? Because tunakaa tu, tunaambiwa endeni hivi kama mambuzi, you go to work, you go to school, you go pay your bills, by the way, from that position I was in that moment, life looked so like a meaningless, unajua vile Ecclesiastes inasemanga. I think that is where Solomon was when he wrote those things. Because I was like, what is the meaning of all this? Sure. It feels so empty. And I sat there and I called God. I was like, you who created me, whoever it is that you are, you had better tell me what you created me for, because I am done running around doing life with no purpose. What's the point? I'm not leaving this house. You need to tell me why you created me, not why you created humanity, me specifically, because that I want to get into the business of doing that. And what happened 2 days after that is I began to get visions. And the first vision I got, I was in the toilet. By the way, my toilet was like an open heaven. I used to enter the toilet, it's like having had another dimension. I sat on that toilet and I saw the door, because the door was here. In a moment, it flipped. It's like it fell over on the other side. And it's like I saw a huge, infinitely huge ocean. Like an ocean with no end. And then a cup just scooped some water from the ocean. And I heard a voice that told me, you're the ocean in the cup. In that moment, I understood. It's like I was reprogrammed in that moment. In that moment, I was told, this is who you are in relation to that which created you. It's like God is the ocean. You are the ocean in a cup. You're the substance of God in a smaller container. For me, that reprogrammed completely. And that was the beginning of my spiritual journey. And I began to get insight. So I would sit in that toilet and I would start getting insight, philosophical insights about life. And I would leave the toilet excited. I would go to Google and, am I mad? Am I still mad? Ama ni dawa nimeacha kukunywa nikachizi? I would Google and I would find people like Eckhart Tolle, Michael Beckwith, people who are being interviewed by Oprah, talking about Dalai Lama. People are talking about the things I'm hearing in the toilet. And I began to get into this space. And then I began to hear God's voice.
Amen.
So I began to hear God's voice in my ear. So one time I was told, go to Thika level 5. Go to Thika level 5. Go to Thika level. Every day I wake up. Go to Thika level 5. I'm like, sasa niende kufanya nini? Mi sijai enda huko. I don't know anyone. What am I going to go? Go to Thika level 5. And one day I was like, hii sauti imebow. Leo naenda hiyo Thika level 5. So I took a mat. Pale tu serious. Kaingia. So in my head I'm like, this is like, what is going on? So nikienda Thika level 5, what am I going to do? But I was like, well, let me see where this goes. So I stepped into a matatu, got off at pale Mukere. Then I walked. I picked this corner like this. I'm almost at that prison. I'm like, I'm hearing nunua yogurt na keki. I'm like, if people knew what was going on in my head, naeza pelekwa Mathare. So I went, a shop there. I was told to buy 2 yogurts and 2 cakes. So I bought. And then now I'm supposed to cross the road to get into Thika level 5. I still don't know what I'm going to do to Thika level 5. But as I'm crossing the road, I got the insight. Now it wasn't a voice, a knowing I'm going to see someone.
Yeah.
But I don't know, sijui ukiingia unaanzanga side gani. So I can't even ask the watchman. So me, I pass, hapo tuk-tuk zinakuanga, I pass, I go. Now I'm in this stretch that is normally there before now they get to the casualty. So as I'm walking there, I hear again, you go to the children's ward. So me, I walk, I reach the gate, I ask the watchman, where is the children's ward? He's like, which one? I'm like,
you need to be specific.
Yeah, I'm like, nikamuza kwani kuna ngapi? He's like, kuna moja iko hii side na kuna moja hii side. Unaenda gani? Akaita someone. Ebu kuja uonyeshe huyu madam children's ward. So me, I hadn't answered him. So this guy was like, kuja nikuone. Automatically he thought ni here hii side.
Okay.
So me I'm going, then he tells me it's here. So me I go, it's this sijui ni newborn unit inakuanga huko.
With your yogurt and cake.
I'm like, no, I could not have been told to buy yogurt and cake if
For
I was
newborn.
to come and see kids from the window. Because now I can only see them from the window. You can't go in. See, it's a newborn unit.
Yes.
The one you wear those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was like, no. I was like, excuse me, nikaita nurse. Where is the other children's ward? She directed me. So she took me, walked with me all the way. So now I'm reaching there at the children's ward, and you know how thick a level 5 is. There are many rooms. So there's this space in the middle, and then there are too many small wards around it. Hey, so me I reach there. Okay, unataka kuona nani? Do you know I'm blank, but I'm hearing myself talking. I am blank, but I'm hearing myself talking, and I am describing someone. So I am listening to myself, and I'm describing ati, I'm here to see a child who has not been seen for a long time, and they sijui they came in here critically or some, I can't remember what I said. The nurse was like, oh, wacha nikuonyeshe ako wapi. So she takes me to the, she tells me anakaa kwa ile bed, but for now ana need kupewa damu na hawajapata veins sai. Ako pale kwa nursing station. So me I chungulia, I saw a baby crying, not a small baby but a very sick child, and the mother wanatafuta veins wapi huku kwa kichwa, because now huku kwingine zime collapse. So I sit, wait, the bed is there, so I have to sit here. So here there is a child that is there with the mother, their father is discharging her. So me I'm just courtesy, hi, habari ya leo, and I sit, I'm like nikae hapa, I sit on their bed and I'm talking to the child, and then the mother is telling me, yeah, she's been sick, but now they are discharging her, nini nini. Then something in me tells me, give her the yogurt and the cake. See, I had two.
Yes.
So I give her one, yogurt and cake. This baby eats. The mom is like this. After she finishes, she's like, mtoto hajakula siku mbili.
Wow.
I don't know where the appetite just came from. So in short, in summary, this girl who is brought in, she was called Jane. She was 10 years old. She was HIV positive. She was 10 kgs. You can imagine a 10-year-old who is 10 kgs. Ameisha kabisa. Her mother, they live in Keno. Her mother was wale wa mama wakulima shamba. So they were low on cash. Even the dad could not afford to come and see them in hospital. So they had been there for 2 weeks. And the day they were admitted from Muranga, they were brought in by ambulance. She was very critical. And it's the first day I had go to level 5.
And you've been denying that
Yes.
voice.
So in summary, I did an online campaign for this child when she was discharged, and we raised money, and she was discharged, and we paid NHIF for her for a whole year, and she died the following year, and I was totally devastated, but she had changed my life, because that is how I learned how to listen to God's voice, and that is the guiding voice that guides my career even now.
Wow.
So that is how my life happened. So that voice needed to train me. And because it did this amazing, powerful thing through me, I was able to trust when I heard about coaching. So that's how I was able to trust that this is the path for me. And I dropped all careers, and now all I do is coaching. I don't have any other job that I do.
Coaching is enough.
Coaching is enough for me. It's paid my bills. It's brought me here. It's changed my life. It has also given me the opportunity to transform how I view life. Because now, for me, life is a curriculum. And my duty as a transformation coach is to help you become aware of your curriculum. What's happening in your class? Because many times we are excited about hearing other people's classes. You are very excited about hearing my life. But has your life ministered to you? What are the things that you can look at your life and say, I am being guided? What is taking shape in your life? You know, your life is like an art. An artist is drawing something. And sometimes you step back and you're like, what? I wonder what he's drawing. So you look and you become curious and observant with your life. And then when you start getting what he's drawing, then you become a willing participant. So whether it's a challenge. So I've gone through so many challenges after that. My ex-husband and I separated more than 2 years ago after being married for 10 years. It was very devastating for both of us, but we did it very amicably. We are still in good terms. And then another difficult thing that happened during COVID is that, of course, people didn't have money to pay for coaching. I had to start my life again, which means that now, as a mother with a 2-year-old, I had to be the visiting co-parent. That has been a journey on itself, because I've had to make peace with that, stop judging myself, stop seeing myself as a bad mother, also begin to see how much of a blessing this situation is for both of us and the children as well, because for some time it has worked. You know, I know people see it as a mixed up mathogotanio thing, but it worked because their father loves them, like he would have been depressed without them. And I needed to start my life. I was not emotionally and mentally able to be present to them. So the scenario worked. And, you know, after that, COVID happened. I got COVID. You know, at some point I was almost dying. Had to relook again about what is this thing called life? Where am I heading? And, you know, many, many challenges have come. But the way I look at them is I know this is a curriculum. So I'm always looking at what's happening under the surface. What's happening? And that's what I do. I help you see what's happening under the surface. You have this great goal. What's happening under the surface? You have this big challenge. What's happening under the surface? And for me, this, even just being here, I've stepped back and I'm looking at it. I'm like, hold up. The first interview I ever did after this whole shenanigan of depression and everything was 3T. And it like launched my path to something else, because the second interview I did with Nairobi Star was in that Gazette that my mother-in-law saw, which was very interesting because the photo that they had for me on that Gazette, the dress I was wearing is the dress I was wearing when my mother-in-law saw that article. So I couldn't deny it's me. And I had to own my story. That's the thing about that scenario. I had to own my story. I had to say, you know what, because, you know, I was afraid that they would think, now you're exposing all of us in your many stories you're doing in the media, you know, but then I was like, it's my story. I have to own my story. You're a character in my story. I'm not telling your story. I'm just telling the part that you have played in my story. Yeah.
Awesome. That is quite
Yeah.
deep, eh?
Yeah.
You're turning 40.
Yes, and that's why I'm like, what is happening? Like, I step back and I'm like, this picture that is being painted, because I'm here again at 3T, and it feels like it's a beginning of a new cycle, because I'm writing my second book, which is a lot about my spiritual journey. And I'm here thinking, it's like my life is beginning all over again. I don't know where the next phase will take me, but I'm definitely not the person that I was. And I feel new. I feel what has increased within me is the ability to love and to allow love. And my desire and my dream is to leave a legacy of love. You know, it's almost to say that she loved in all kinds of ways, in all kinds of situations, all kinds of people. She was an embodiment of love. And I feel like that's the picture that is being painted. Because for every challenge I go through, it's like God is revealing to me the stuff that is blocking me from receiving and giving love. It's like every situation is like, look, you are refusing to love and to be loved, to love yourself and to love others. And so I feel like this new chapter for my life is exciting, because I am in a career that ensures that I'm working on myself every day.
Sure.
Because every client I see, whatever we are talking about has something to do with my life. So it's like I'm doing personal development 24/7.
That is good to hear. You
Yeah.
have a very rich story, and we thank God that you accepted, you know, to
Yeah.
be vulnerable enough to come and and share it with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for honoring the invite.
Thank you.
As a transformational coach,
Yeah.
there's probably somebody who is watching and they would like to contact you for your services.
Yeah.
You could give out a phone number or even on social media how they can find you.
Yeah. Okay, transformational coaching is very new. I know you might not have heard even about life coaching. Most of us know about counseling. But coaching is about having transformative conversations that help you shift your perspective, uncover your limiting beliefs, and begin to step into a new state of being. And you can do that whether you're in trouble or not. You don't have to wait until you're in trouble. It's like you are chokoraing your subconscious mind and figuring out, okay, where are my limiting beliefs? What is blocking me from living the dream that I want, the life that I want? That's the reason why we do coaching. And of course, it's experiential. I can't tell you about coaching. You'd have to experience it. And for that reason, I normally give free clarity calls. I give free online sessions for about 30-45 minutes so that you can know if this is for you, and if it is for you, what should you focus on right now. So I'm on social media. You can try and book your sessions from there as Carolyne Gaithuma on Facebook, on Instagram and Twitter. It's C Gaithuma. I also have a website, carolynegaithuma.com. You can book a session from there. And where else can they find me?
Twitter. Oh, that's enough.
Ama na Kikuyu niseme moja na makinya.
How now? A phone number probably?
Yes, my phone number is a public number, 0721 385870.
Thank you.
And don't send me unwarranted...
Don't worry about that. You can filter it out. Thank you so much for making time to be with us.
Yeah, thank
you. We could talk all day.
Yes,
and there's still a lot we need to talk about mental health.
Yeah, definitely. And so much more.
Sawa, sawa.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was a transformational coach who, is giving us her life story and she's using it to impact people. We are coming to you from Mount Kenya University here in Thika. They have a wonderful, top-notch, the best ever convention center, the Mwai Kibaki Convention that you can hire out as a corporate for your meetings, functions, seminars. This is Mount Kenya University here in Thika. Check them out. My name is Juliet Modoni. You're watching 3T TV. Until next time, take care.